Welcome to the Tesla Power Podcast. This is the Tesla Energy community covering solar panels, solar roof, and Powerwall for your home. I'm Aaron Brady. Today we have a special episode. I have a conversation with Kevin Giasullo, who's in the middle of a solar roof install from Tesla. I get to ask him about his experiences that he's had for this first half of his project. We want to give you a sense of what it's like to go through the order process and to work with the Tesla team. Let's do it. Kevin Giasullo, welcome to the Tesla Power Podcast. Thank you so much for making yourself a resource, telling us about what's going on with you. Let's start with the install. How many days in are you in the process at the moment?
Well, Aaron, first, thank you for A, starting the channel, B, including me. So we're actually at day, I guess, 1.5 of the re-roofing process, which I'm going to try to go ahead and show you on the camera here. We started yesterday morning around 8 a.m., which was Monday. We're now just after lunch on Tuesday. And you can see that they are well underway with getting the majority of the roof done with the underlayment process.
It looks awesome. So what are you doing with the underlayment? I think you're going for the no roof tear off option. Is that right?
Right. So I actually never was given a clear direction one way or the other. They originally had priced me out for a no tear off option, and that wasn't really a final decision until the inspector came out from Tesla and did the site visit.
Okay, so once he came out and did the site visit, he told you it was an option, and you could either take that or leave it, or that was the direction they sent you.
No, so he left me with the understanding that his recommendation to the design team was going to be a re-roofing option based upon the condition of the roof. But everyone at corporate Tesla refers to the entire process, no matter what you do, as a tear off and dry in process. So that was probably the only confusing part on our end. But once I talked to my advisor as the point of clarification, tear off was never a consideration. If it was a consideration, they would have contacted me to provide more money to do a tear off. So.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it didn't really save you any money. They quoted you this option in the first place.
That's my understanding. Yep.
Okay, that's awesome. And we're in day 2. They'll complete the underlayment process, and they call it underlayment and dry-in. Is that what I was hearing?
Yeah. So on the website itself, they refer to it as a tear-off and dry-in, but for all sakes and purposes of what they're actually doing, it's in the underlayment process, or AKA dry-in. So we're hoping to be done today, and they left the window open that it might be tomorrow, depending on what happens. So.
Okay. So we might go 3 days with the underlayment process, and then you'll take a couple of days off. I mean, obviously, we're right around the Christmas holiday as we're recording this. And then we'll see a team maybe at your place next week. Is that right?
Yeah, I think they're targeting either Monday or Tuesday right after the holiday to do both the roofing portion with the solar tiles and the Powerwall installation.
How disruptive has it been to your family with the Tesla install team there and the work that they need to do? Are you having to stay in the house or stay away from the house? How's that working?
So I'm actually during the dry-in process, we've been in the house, and if you can tolerate a little bit of banging on the roof and stuff, it's been largely unobtrusive to us. The only thing that was a surprise to our benefit was we weren't scheduled to start actually until today, and they actually showed up yesterday, which wasn't a big deal.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, which when you read online what's going on, we have the best of all options in this case. So.
Yeah, I mean, earlier is always better, right? I mean, I always live by that philosophy. So if they can come a day early, man, let's go. Let's get it done.
And my philosophy was, if I said no, it was just going to delay the process even worse. So.
I know, right? They might not be able to show up until February or March or something.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So did they give you an estimate of how long the actual shingle install would take and the other electrical work, like the Powerwall install?
They gave me a very, very, very bullish estimate that if they start on Monday or Tuesday next week, they'll be done with the shingle portion before the new year, and then the only question mark is the Powerwall portion, which is going to be presumably started at the same time. So
how big is your system?
They actually only quoted me one option, which was a 21.5 kilowatt system using the version, I guess you'd call it the version 4 tiles They don't refer
Okay.
to it as that. It was the ones that I believe you guys reported on back on early November, that it was the new 71 watt version.
Cool.
So I think ordinarily it would have been more like a 12 to a 15 watt system based on what they quoted me at, but with the the increase in performance, it boosted it. They did tell me that once you make the installation, they don't have any real options to upgrade later on down the road.
Okay. And I mean, that sounds huge. What are the limits that your utility are imposing on how big that system can be?
So I believe the system is capped by United Illuminating at 25 kilowatt hours, but because the system is obviously going to be larger than what the inverters could push to the grid, we're only going to be able to push, I believe, 15.2 kilowatt hours at a max, assuming peak performance. And
Going
that
out
is
to the utility, but that doesn't limit you from being able to store that locally, right?
That's my understanding. Yep.
That's awesome. And then how many power walls are you getting?
We ended up going with 4. Actually, when we were looking at one of your episodes you did online, we kind of heard it loud and clear that everybody who goes with the lesser amount ends up wanting more later on. And as I've spoken to, Connecticut has an incentive coming out January 1st, which is going to basically pay for a power wall. So,
well, tell us more about that, because I wasn't able to take advantage of this. Does that end up affecting you at all? Are you able to take advantage of that?
Yep. So it's all based on the installation date. So the actual formal installation of the power walls has to be on or after January 1st. So that's something I've been working with my installation team on, to make sure that we don't prohibit an incentive opportunity. So what we are going to be doing is, well, Tesla no longer participates in the Connecticut Green Bank as of August, we found out. And that is something that I believe my advisor said that they are open to revisiting. So we're going to be seeing if there's an opportunity to have my system take the dive, if you will, into the program.
Sure.
Connecticut Green Bank was very clear to me, though, that it's paid directly to the contractor and not the consumer. So that's something that I'm aggressively working on with them.
Okay. And that Connecticut Green Bank stuff, that's done. So the Powerwall incentive, that's still coming from the state, but has to go through Tesla. That doesn't go to you directly. It's not something you can apply for directly.
That's my understanding. My advisor said she's gonna try to work both angles to see if there's a mechanism that I can file. So,
but if you were to add Powerwalls later, then presumably you'd be able to take advantage of that as well. I wouldn't expect. I mean, you're starting with 4. I think what's the limit? 10 that you can put on a system anyway.
I think so.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, because I would love to add a Powerwall where we're at. We happen to have the same utility, United Illuminating, here in Connecticut. So that would be very interesting incentive for me to be able to take a look at if I were to add to my system.
Yeah, definitely.
So where are they at right now? They've been working on the front of your roof. I think you've got a couple of gables on the front. Are we able to take a quick look at that?
Yeah, let me walk around a bit. The guys are actually just coming back from lunch. So.
Oh, that's awesome. It's not gables. Sorry, I had the wrong thing. What are those dormers, right? Where the windows are in the front of the house.
I actually don't know the proper term. I just called them the vaulted areas, but I think they use a different term.
Did they tell you how complicated your house was? Like, did your roof fall under simple, or did it fall under complex, or somewhere in between?
So I actually did ask that question. I think that if it, because of the front of the house alone, it qualified as complex, but the back of the house would have been considered a simple installation.
Right. Yeah. No dormers out the back. No complication. No vaulted portions. It's pretty flat. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see there's a lot of different angles and stuff like there. They did tell me that we're going to be getting the metal shingles for the areas that can't be appropriately glassed, and visually they said that they look just like the glass tiles. So
yeah, which is great. That's very, very cool. I mean, obviously the best part from my perspective is that it's integrated. It looks like a regular roof. It's really pretty. It's going to fit well in the neighborhood. You're not going to stick out in a bad way. You'll stick out in a good way. You'll have a really nice looking roof.
Oh, well, exactly. And believe it or not, we've already had people drive by and ask questions of what's going on. So there's.
Oh, seriously?
It's going to be interesting.
When they did the underlayment at my house, you could see the Tesla logo from the street. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, exactly the same thing. They saw the Tesla logo on the side of the truck. They walked over. I've had 5 or 6 people ask probably dozens of questions about what we're doing. So
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. So once you start talking with the people that are in your neighborhood, what are their first questions about the system?
they basically want to know if they're gonna ever have to pay for power again. And I think the depending on where you are in the country, one of the confusing parts is, as you know, there's still a cost to have a connection to the grid, which I think is $12 or $15 a month, and that's really the big thing. But
Yeah, I mean, 12, $15 a month is, I think, worth it for insurance. If there's any reason that you need to be pulling from the grid. I think you're going to be in a better position than we are here. My system's a 13.5 kilowatt system. And we don't produce enough to cover all of our electricity usage needs. And of course, I've gone over this a lot. Part of that, well, I would say most of that is because we have the electric car. So do you have an electric car yet? Are you adding one in the future? Or are you adding another in the future?
so that was one of the components to why I think they quoted us for such a robust system. So we don't presently have any EV cars, but it is something that I will probably look into in the next 2 to 3 years, which is what I communicated to them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's super exciting. And then I'm still waiting on PTO because I got messed up during the installation process. I changed the system, and we had to go back through and do a reapplication process we're still in the middle of. So I still have PTO, but your system, I believe everything has been pretty smooth. You've done a ton of front running. You've done a ton of work with your advisor to make sure that everything is specified correctly and that you'll be able to take it forward the way that you expect the system to be, which is amazing. Tell me how much work that's been, making sure the communication part of it is good, and then how you would expect that'll affect PTO timing.
well, as I know you and I spoke, my system got submitted for consideration by Tesla in early November. We actually got the entire process completed with paperwork signed by November the 11th. So for all things considered, my system is described as being very, 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 very fast in the timeline. As far as PTO goes, as you are aware, Connecticut changed the net metering policy effective January 1st, commensurate with some different incentives that are going on. So we will qualify for I guess you call it the legacy net metering program, because Tesla filed the paperwork in the middle of November and paid UI in November. So as far as UI is concerned, they consider that process started, and therefore, even if my system doesn't get PTO till, let's say, February, I'm still grandfathered in under the old program. As That's far awesome. As what was involved about project management kind of thing. So first of all, I had a fantastic service advisor. She was my actually second one. Her name was Kelsey Nicholas out of California. She and I would talk probably once or twice every other day, either via email or over the telephone, simply to get the project scheduled. And one of the things that she routinely told me was to be under promised and over delivered in terms of what she thought was going to be realistic. So they originally expected me not to have an installation date till late Q1 of 22 or very early Q2 22. Obviously, we've started early. So at the latter part of November, right after Thanksgiving, I got a phone call from scheduling on a Sunday afternoon that said, "Hey, we're coming out to do our site visit tomorrow. We're going to get you on the schedule for December." And I was like, "Okay, let's go ahead and do it." So in terms of what was required, I think the best advice I could give, given my current situation, is when they call you and ask for certain things, get back to them promptly. At a minimum, you can turn around and say that the holdup wasn't on your part. So when there was something that had to be signed, whether it be electronically on the website, what I would do is e-sign it, and I would follow up with an email to my advisor saying, "Hey, this was done, memorializing this for documentation purposes. Please let me know what else I can do." In very early December, which you can be surprised, it was only 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a guy out of Rocky Hill, Connecticut, called John Tobiasen, who identified himself as a Tesla employee that is more or less the liaison between all the different teams. So he is the bridge between the project advisor on the West Coast, the installation team here in Connecticut. He happened to be local in Connecticut. So at that point, I made it a point to communicate with both him and my advisor basically on every communication. So if I called him and we discussed something, it was followed up with an email saying, this is what we discussed, here's what the expectations are. And more or less that was to see way out myself, number one, but make sure that if there were ever issues downrange, we have it memorialized. So really, I would say at the end of the day, it was not very labor intensive. I would maybe spend a half an hour to 45 minutes a day just checking in on the website, communicating with them if there were things going on. The only area for improvement I really saw was that there was always a disconnect between what either the installation team was being told in terms of a timeline and what the website reflected. So a lot of times I saw dates change on the scheduled portion of the Tesla website very frequently. And every time I saw that occur, phone call, follow up on the email, got it in writing, basically found out that there's a disconnect between scheduling and the local folks.
That's
so
interesting.
I guess I could tell you that there did come a point in my process where I made it a point to mainly deal with the local people, get firmed updates from them. This way I can plan accordingly, and then work with a follow up to my advisor, who at this point has been transitioned away from Kelsey, who was my main advisor, to Jennifer, who's out of Long Island, and she is the quote installation advisor. So she's not the service, the project manager at this point. She's the installation coordinator, basically.
I think a lot of us have the impression that Tesla does things in a very automated fashion, but the way you're describing it is it's a little bit more manual than we might expect. So if we're just relying on information from our portal, might not be 100% accurate. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's really helpful to be talking not just to your project advisor, but to the liaison. Can you talk a little bit more about how you found your liaison and how often you're communicating with your liaison?
Yeah, so the John, who was the liaison in Connecticut, actually reached out to me right after the site visit was completed. He actually apologized because he was supposed to be there for the site visit.
Okay. I thought maybe he was the one that
there.
did the site visit. So who is it that conducts the site visit specifically, if it's not the liaison?
So it was a Tesla employee. I believe their title was surveyor. So that this was the person that went down, checked out the electrical. This is the person that went up in the roof and basically determined that the roof was eligible for that re-roofing option.
Okay. So he reached out to you, the liaison did.
Yep.
And you've been making a point to keep in touch with him. And that's because he's local. And if you were to talk to your project advisor, you're calling out to California, and they're probably just calling back to your liaison, right?
Pretty much, yep.
Okay. Okay, so two takeaways there. Yeah, don't be looking at the timeline on the website and taking that as your gospel truth. It is very helpful to get in touch with that liaison and stay in touch with that liaison. That's awesome.
And even with all that planning, we still ended up starting the project earlier, and the timeline, I think, was overall pushed up by about 2 weeks from what was originally quoted back in November.
Which is incredible. And it sounds like you might be done with installation. I mean, if everything pans out, by the end of next week, which would just be absolutely lightning fast.
Yeah, it would be, I believe, like 50 days, give or take, if my math is right. Again, they don't work probably Saturday and Sunday, but I would say it's been a very aggressive schedule. My liaison did say that they were blown away at how quickly my project made it on the queue, and they did say that was largely because the roofing portion was not seeing those backups in supply and demand, and that it was the solar panel side that was seeing those 3 to 6 month delays in parts.
Sure. And I wonder if that means that you got another crew, even like maybe some of those crews that were doing installs for solar panels have been moved over to Solar Roof. Is that a possibility?
Certainly a possibility. I had a partial team here yesterday, based on what people typically said is about 10 guys. I had about 7 guys here yesterday. That number is almost doubled today. I think I have somewhere between 12 and 14 that are here. That's considered the full crew, according to what they indicated to me. So it
seems like a lot of people, but there's nobody just standing around doing nothing, right? The whole team is involved. So, everybody is needed, right?
Correct. Even the crew lead, who happens to be another guy named John. I guess there's like 4 ones up in Rocky Hill. He's the guy that's kind of in charge of, monitoring safety, making sure the guys are in compliance with all the specifications and stuff. And he's getting up and getting his hands dirty, which, makes the project go quicker. So,
yeah. Now, there's going to be more for us to talk about. I hope we get to have another conversation while you're in the middle of the actual Solar Roof install. But just to wrap it up, I know one of the things that I loved the most about the whole process was getting to talk with the Tesla team. They're so smart and so enthusiastic. And it was my favorite part of the whole process. Can you just talk a little bit about, what it's like to work with the Tesla team and your takeaways from them?
Yeah. So as you know, one of the biggest, I guess, interferences I provided them was I asked to take some drone photos before I took drone photos, even though it's my own property. I made it a point to check with the project lead to make sure that A, he was okay with it, and B, where I could safely film from, et cetera. He appreciated that. His guys definitely appreciated that because they were able to make sure that, everything was above reproach. And it also provided them, with an opportunity to kind of double check the safety components of things that were going to be memorialized and potentially put on the internet. So from that perspective, it was great. I spent about a half an hour yesterday picking his brain on various things. Found out that more than likely my gutters do not have to be removed, which is something that design said would have happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And there was one exhaust vent that goes to a toilet only bathroom on the roof that in the design plans implied that it was going to stay on the roof, but it sounds like they're going to be doing that cut option you talked in one of the episodes, and they're just going to go right over it with the solar tiles. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. And we're going to see more of that, hopefully if we're able to pick up a conversation next week. You can see how that affects the overall aesthetic of the system and the production of the system, right? Because you're not going to be missing a solar tile at that position, and it won't be broken up with the vent, which is pretty cool stuff.
Yep.
Well, Kevin,
and then
I want to make sure.
I'm sorry. The last.
No, it's just a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I know. Which was good was my contract did not actually specify a 10 or a 20% overage on the solar production of the roof. So as some other contracts I'd seen online did, it just said that Tesla reserves the right to expand your system at no cost to you. And it sounds like all of the solar roof installations are receiving a 10 or a 15% bump at installation time. So that's going to put me right at or below the UI maximum for on the roof. So
that is really
things
cool.
that design doesn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else you want to raise before we wrap it up for this conversation?
No, one, I know my particular case is very unusual compared to what you see from other people. I by no means think that I've done anything special or unique other than make sure things are memorialized in writing. We keep open lines of communication, and that while you may have a project advisor, you still have to do your homework on the customer side to make sure your expectations are met appropriately. So
100%. Kevin, thank you so much for spending some time. Let's do this again in not too long when you get to the next phase of your project. Congratulations. Look forward to talking again.
All right. Take care, Aaron. Have a great day.
Thanks.
And that will do it for episode 39 of the Tesla Power Podcast. Thank you to Kevin Giasullo for sharing his experience. And if you have questions for a second interview, leave a comment below. Link a YouTube video question. You can email teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a message at 203-816-5150. I'll collate the best questions for inclusion in our interview that I expect will happen between Christmas and New Year's next week. And of course, if you are looking to purchase some Tesla solar products, you're welcome to use my referral code to save $500 on a Tesla solar roof and $300 on Tesla solar panels. You can go to ts.la/Aaron62310 to place your order. I am your Tesla residential energy community organizer, Aaron Brady, and let's do this again on the next video.